A tale of two polar opposite parties, proof that Trump's influence remains. Although the current president and his party continue to work in a bipartisan fashion to legislate and enact laws that better American lives, the Republican Party going the other way, until on the state level, like in Texas, where just this morning, theatrics and fear-mongering were on full display. Texas Governor Greg Abbott falsely claiming migrants coming to the southern border could be spies from China.
We need to debunk, if there's anybody out there who thinks that these are still just people coming from Mexico or Central America, coming here to engage in agriculture, something like that, they're forgetting about the people from China, from Iran, from terrorist-based nations.
To be clear, no evidence supports that theory, but there is evidence that the Texas governor is just fine clinging to misinformation. He tweeted out this false story that ran on Fox News about the Biden administration's plans to cut how much red meat Americans can consume. To be clear, that is not true either. Grab a burger whenever you like. Biden and the Democrats are not working to limit your intake. But it's without question that reality isn't stopping this party from amplifying bogus stories and igniting culture wars, creating solutions for problems that don't exist, like the anti-trans laws we've seen passed in Arkansas and beyond. It appears to be what Republicans want for their party, because anyone who takes a stand for reality gets treatment like Utah Senator Mitt Romney and Wyoming Congresswoman Liz Cheney just received. Romney nearly booed off the stage at Utah's GOP convention and narrowly escaping a vote to censure him.
Now, you know me as a person who says what he thinks, and I don't hide the fact that I wasn't a fan of our last president's character issues. And I'm also no fan.
And the party that often decries cancel culture reportedly wants to cancel Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the chair of the Republican conference, because she dared to vote in favor of impeaching Donald Trump for the January insurrection. Her fist bump with the president at Wednesday's address probably not helping either. With me now, MSNBC political contributor Eugene Daniels. He is a White House reporter for Politico and co-author of Political Playbook. Katie Paris is the founder of Red Wine and Blue, a nonprofit group that aims to educate suburban women about progressive policies. And Max Boot is an opinion columnist for The Washington Post and a senior fellow for national security studies at the Council on Foreign Relations. Good to see you all. Max, I want to start with you. In your latest Washington Post opinion piece, you write, the Republican Party is increasingly catering to people who live in an alternative universe of false narratives spread by media outlets such as Fox News and Newsmax and on social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Google YouTube. A major political movement becoming completely untethered from reality is terrifying to see and often accompanies the slide into authoritarianism. Max, talk to me about that slide.
Well, I think that what's happening now is terrifying in the Republican Party, because basically the litmus test to be a Republican these days is you have to embrace the big lie, which is now shared by 70% of Republicans, according to one recent poll, the lie that Donald Trump actually won the election and that it was stolen from him by Joe Biden. And this has become, a crucial, basically a centerpiece of the Republican Party. Anybody who dissents, as Mitt Romney did, gets booed and heckled, or as Liz Cheney has done, she's in danger of losing her position. And so the Republican Party is increasingly becoming an authoritarian party, which has more in common with ruling parties in places like Hungary and Poland and Turkey than it does with traditional center-right parties like the Christian Democrats in Germany. And of course, when you're becoming an authoritarian party, you have to spout and believe a lot of nonsense. And so they're just flat out lying. They're making stuff up like Joe Biden has a plan to ration your meat, or they're distributing Vice President Harris's book to migrants. This stuff is just not true, but Republican politicians parrot it. And then when it's caught, they don't take down their tweets. They don't apologize. They just move on to the next falsehood. And so, as I said, I think this is a very scary predictor for the future of American democracy, because, scary as the Republican Party has become, they could well be in power in Congress 2 years from now.
Right, Max, I do want to stick with you for a second, because one of the questions I had after reading your piece, where you lay out not only that this is happening, but that there is also an echo chamber around this that is allowing this to happen, is that once you have that type of bifurcation, how do you ever bring people back to reality?
That's a great question. I'm not sure we have a great answer, because you're absolutely right. the Republican Party is only one part of this alternative universe. The other part of it, of course, is the right-wing media led by Fox News. And then, of course, their imitators like Newsmax and others. And it's basically this self-reinforcing feedback loop of BS. They feed one another these BS stories. They magnify them. Fox says something that's flatly untrue, or the New York Post, which is owned by Murdoch as well, says something flatly untrue. Then Republican politicians react with faux outrage, and then Fox and the New York Post cover the faux outrage, and that becomes a story. And then it kind of feeds off itself, and they can go for weeks, worked up about Dr. Seuss while we have real problems in this country. And unfortunately, there's millions of people who take their cues from these sources, and they don't believe anything they see on MSNBC or read in the Washington Post. They believe this utter nonsense that is being peddled by Fox News, or being peddled by various right-wing commentators on Facebook and other social media. This is incredibly dangerous. We have to deprogram millions of people, and I'm not sure if that's going to be possible.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.